Good afternoon and welcome to the Newsroom. My name is Alexander Beachgood and today we're going to be discussing the English and Maths Department's budget. Here's what Mr. War had to say.
I'm allowed to make a budget request. So I look at what things are going to cost for the whole department for the year and I ask for what I need or believe I need. My experience is that I get what I ask for. So our budget is indexed to the needs of the students.
Hi, very nice. And the next question that I have for you is, do you think your department needs more funding? What are your thoughts? Do you think that you guys need more funding?
No, I think one of the great things about English departments is that we are efficient. We with the money that we get, which is a significant amount of money, we get a lot of teaching done. The most expensive thing is actually the cost of the staff, but we have quite high teacher ratios, so for every member of staff there are always a lot of students. When it comes to resources, we don't need a lot of things. Books are important, and sometimes trips and outside experiences, and a few things like whiteboard pens, but the rest of it, we can just get our job done. Something more, I think the school infrastructure really supports English. So for example, as an English department, we have free access to the school library and all of the resources associated with that. We have these beautiful classrooms to teach in. All of that's outside our budget, but it really enables us.
All right, thank you very much. Here's what Ms. Squire thinks of the matter. Ms. Squire, the head of the Maths Department. Now, Ms. Squire, I have a few questions for you. Are you ready to hear them?
I sure am.
All right, so my first question, what are your thoughts on your department's budget set by the school?
My thoughts as in, is it enough, not enough, that type of thing?
Yeah, is it enough, is it not enough? What are your kind of thoughts on this set budget?
Yeah, okay, so the set budget, I set the budget myself. I request a certain amount and it's approved or not approved or questioned first. I believe, yes, we are very well resourced and the budget is sufficient. Obviously then if there's anything over and above that we need, we then petition Finance Department for extra.
Oh yeah, very nice. And so my second question for you is, do you think that your department would need more funding?
I think every department would need more funding. In an ideal world, we'd have access to every technological advance that there is possible and every piece of equipment that's possible. But obviously, money is a finite thing and we're never going to get that. But I'm quite happy with where we are at the moment.
All right, thank you very much for your time. That's all I've got for you today.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Newsroom. Today's story will be about the serious economic crisis currently happening in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a small tropical island right underneath India. The people who live there are currently being hit hard by a crisis that has ruined much of their lives. Today, I have interviewed multiple middle-class English-speaking Sri Lankans who are part of the vast majority that are suffering from this crisis. Just a discretion before the audio is rolled, many of these interviewees do not speak English as a first language, so please be patient and listen carefully. Drowning in debt. This is the only way to describe a country that is suffering the full affliction from its past mistakes, corrupt leaders, and untimely circumstances. Sri Lanka, a small tropical country, has had a significant amount of bad experiences, such as the Easter bombings that happened in 2019, the 2004 tsunami that killed over 71,000 people, or the Sri Lankan Civil War, which lasted 25 years and is recorded to be one of the longest civil wars in Asian history. All of these things have somehow contributed to the economic crisis currently happening in Sri Lanka. Now let's hear the Sri Lankan public's thoughts about this crisis. What does it feel like to live in Sri Lanka during the current situation?
It's really hard. I don't think that we have ever seen or ever faced this kind of situation in our entire lifetime. Not only the political situations, but also the financial and economical situation. As middle class people, it's very difficult to live and it's very difficult to maintain our lifestyles because within very few days or like very few weeks, the whole lifestyle changed to a different one.
It's very hard. It's not easy, but if you take it as really positive, yeah, the environment is challenging, but still it's not so bad where you think that you should live.
Well, yes, very hard to live in Sri Lanka because of the economic crisis. That's it.
Haven't felt much. We all felt difficulties, but we haven't lost the faith in the country and the love for the country. Those are there still. But of course, we feel little difficulty on day-to-day things. So we are taking all the burden and we are trying to, make ourselves to go that journey to overcome the burdens.
As you heard, the Sri Lankan people are going through quite a hard time. Throughout the past months, many terrible things have been happening to the people of the country, including inflation rising from 18% to more than 45%, 12-hour power cuts, a scarcity of food and medicine, and the farmers are starting to stop planting their crops because of the harsh fertilizer bans. On top of this, on the 9th of May, Sri Lanka ran out of fuel. This is obviously quite a bad situation to be in, but it seems our interviewees still have hope. Now let's hear what it was like before the crisis. How was it like to live in Sri Lanka before the crisis?
This crisis actually came after this pandemic. Even before pandemic in Sri Lanka, we had a terrorist attack. I think consequently with the attack you had in New Zealand with Christchurch, with this Easter bombing thing, so economy went down, the reduced coming into Sri Lanka. In 2020, we had this couple of years pandemic. So as a result, now we have this crisis. So I think, all these 3-4 years, we were in a crisis.
We are developing. We don't have the privilege which developed countries have, but I think we were managing ourselves. We never had this kind of crisis. Like we never stand in lines just to take 1 liter of gasoline. This is really a different experience for each and every person in this country. Earlier, we had downsides, but not like this.
Like what was said, Sri Lanka did have downsides. The country had many bad things happen to it before the crisis. It seems that those other annoying things have hurt the country as well. The COVID pandemic is a good example of this. Since Sri Lanka is a tropical country, the main flow of income was tourism. But because of the pandemic, the foreigners were reduced to almost nothing. Many hotels had to close down and Sri Lanka lost its main source of income. This may not have been a problem if there wasn't already a big pile of debt building up. More about that after the next question. What are your thoughts on the government?
Sri Lankan government has not good policy. They want only to control the power. They don't need to develop our country. Any ruling party or opposite party, any party comes to rule our country, they need only to
keep their power on our country. That's it.
Now we see very different control here. Previous government also, I don't think they have done much to the people of the country. They were just trying to take whatever the advantage they can while they have power.
There are no words to describe it. Instead of work for the welfare of the people, the government is working for the welfare of select few. As a result, a handful live luxurious lives and the majority lead miserable lives. People have to suffer due to the failure of the existing management of this government.
Most of the information that has been gathered points towards the Sri Lankan government leaders contributing towards most of the problems that have occurred. Our interviewees seem to think that the government has always been corrupt and terrible at managing the country. Although, is this true? What do we know about the old government leaders that the people seem to be so angry about? Well, in fact, some evidence shows that the government may have stolen money from Sri Lanka's foreign reserves. The foreign reserves being the money used to pay foreign affairs. The people seem to think that the government has stolen their money and used it for their own personal use, which would seem to make sense as this has happened before. Now let's hear some news about what could help these people in dire need. What is going to help?
We are in a difficult situation in terms of international debts. We don't have enough foreign currency to pay off our debts, so that's one problem. And then we have huge workforce in government sector who is actually underperforming and overpaid. We have environment which is not very favorable for investment or for the private companies to work. So first we have to sort out our matters in terms of the debt. We would need some of the inflows in terms of foreign currency. We would need them definitely in shorter term, but in longer term we would need a good strategy to enhance the economy, and we would need better people to rule the country, people with vision. So that would do the best to Sri Lanka. We can cut down on unnecessary government expenditure. That is, if a state festival is held in our country, it will cost too much. It is not done in simple manner. It will be possible to reduce government expenditure. We had to find a solution to the current fuel crisis, but instead a large number of vehicles were used for this purpose.
Better management will help come out this crisis. It's all about management. It's all about managing things. It's all about managing resources. It's all about putting good systems in place. It's all about stopping corruption. It's all about getting money. It's all about innovation, about education. It's uplifting people's mindset, be positive and, fight towards, finding solution, overcoming the crisis. All of that will help for us.
Better management, stopping corruption, innovation and education are the four things that must certainly happen if the people want to get out of this crisis. The people have said that the management of this country must be held accountable for this crisis, as the government has handled this situation terribly. But also the education of these people must improve. Surprisingly, Sri Lanka has quite a good education system, but because of COVID and other problems, the schools have been shut down for more than a year. Nowadays, people still continue their daily lives and don't worry about COVID because of the economic crisis taking up most of their lives, even though COVID numbers are still rising. Another thing that, unlike New Zealand, Sri Lanka does not have any motivation to help the environment. There are not many specific bins to separate trash and recyclables, and there's not any incentive to help. Now let's hear how we, foreign countries, can help out. How can other countries help fix the situation?
If they can give us the opportunity to get USDs or other foreign currency to get to this country, that is the utmost help that they can do at this moment, because we don't have any reserves of foreign currency or USDs or anything. So what they can do is any opportunity, if they can give us a hand to earn that money.
One thing definitely would be have some international debts or the loans which has been taken from various countries like China, India, and all these countries. And one thing which those countries can do is to restructure those loans so that we have some breathing space to pay off them. Maybe extending the tenor or something like that. And especially the people who are living, the migrants who are living abroad. Definitely, we would expect from them to send money to Sri Lanka in foreign currency because we don't have foreign currency.
Other countries around the world, whoever rich countries, they can give some money, but not for loans. So they can send some medicines, fuel, or kind of things, people can use. It will great help. Countries shouldn't send money back home because corrupted politicians, they will use that money.
Like what was said, Sri Lanka is in dreadful need of foreign currency. They have no foreign reserves and have resulted in printing money and asking for donations. To summarize everything that has been said in this audio package, the people in Sri Lanka are currently being beaten down in an economic crisis that is far worse than you can imagine. The country is slowly being pulled down to ruins because of the failures of the management of the country, the many bad experiences that happened in the past, and the COVID-19 virus ruining the main source of income. If you are ever interested in donating, I am thinking of making a GoFundMe account for some of my interviewees in Sri Lanka who helped me with this audio package. That's all for now. Thanks for listening.
Is Christ College really worth the money each year? My presentation will be about if Christ College is worth the investment each year. I'm interested in this subject as I am a Christ College student myself and would like to know whether students believe Christ College gives you enough education, sporting and opportunities for the money you are paying. I'm interested if you attend this school, I would like to know the percentage of success rate of students leaving Christ College with a successful plan in front of them. Christ College is the most expensive school in New Zealand to attend, followed closely behind King's College from Auckland. The annual fee for Christ College yearly for day boys is $29,640 yearly, not including opportunities outside of school. This adds up to $148,350 for the Christ College career if they stay there for 5 years. For boarders, the boarding fee is $48,360 yearly. For the whole Christ College life boarding each year, it adds up to $240,000. The average private school in New Zealand is between $11,000 to $24,000 for secondary schools. This means that boarders pay double the maximum average for private schools in New Zealand, and day boys pay $5,000 more than the average school pay in New Zealand. I interviewed Mr. Wynn on his opinion. Your opinion, is Christ College worth the money?
Is worth the money.
Yeah.
And my obvious answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, the parents of Christ College are getting an extraordinary independent school is worth the money.
Different to other schools, such as like opportunities, education.
Well, the education by its very nature is significantly different for several reasons, and that's probably, there are several reasons. There are cultural reasons. For example, we are an Anglican school for all, quite unique in some respects. We are a school for boys, another unique element. And so when you put an Anglican school for boys together with those two things together, that now creates a very unique value proposition. So too are we a school with class sizes that are the envy of many within the international sector, and in fact what that means, and certainly in New Zealand, so what that means is the quality of education that is received by boys is enhanced. And then the quality of the teachers that are selected, and the whole range of other things that go on with regard to opportunities within what new and different subjects to other schools, and the same subjects.
Do you think COVID has affected Christ College?
Absolutely. COVID has an impact on teaching and learning over the COVID period, over the 2 years that we've been in, the 2.5 years now that we've been in COVID, it has definitely had an effect on, because it's not the same as it would have been if we hadn't have had COVID.
Yeah.
So there's definitely been some type of impact. The actual outcome of that impact is hard to measure, because the outcomes for say the academic outcomes haven't been compromised. The scholarships that we received haven't been compromised. So there's not been sort of it's hard to get a true measure of that impact, if you know what I mean. We talk about impact, has it changed things? But I've said to some of the boys who are leaving at the end of year 13 this year, they've had more experience of independent, directed learning than any boys previous to them, because they've been sent home and get instructions as to what to do and what to learn, and they have to do it almost independently themselves. So that's what the impact of that is hard to measure, hard to know what that impact would be. Clearly it's had an impact on people's state of mind and their health and well-being, and that's very individual and personalised. So some people have thrived under COVID because they've liked the circumstances it's presented for them, and others have really suffered and found it very difficult and have not liked it, as a learning environment. Some teachers have liked it more and other teachers have liked it less. So there's sort of a variety of different impacts, and it's hard to know what that will mean into the future. So we'll just have to wait and see whether it'll make any difference. What it does say is it's probably thrust upon us the truth about having to be adaptable and flexible, which are skills that young people you need into the future, because you never know what the future might bring, or predictability. So being adaptable and flexible and still being able to achieve what you're expected to, which is academic outcome or engagement and those sorts of things, that's been different. There's been impacts with regard to engagement in co-curricular activities, which have been significant as well, but that's okay, that's the way it's been.